Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool, from her she shed in her beautiful backyard. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
Tornado tore through a Midwest town. Wasn't nothing in its path it didn't take down, except the Baptist church and a ball field. Then they rebuilt. Talk about tough people. She was 4 years old when they got the news. It was in her little lungs, it was stage 2. Mama spent every night by her bed, and Daddy shaved his head. Talk about tough people. Yeah, there were plenty of times she could have gave up, but she did. Now she fought like hell till she rang that bell in Memphis. Oh, there's a whole lot of bad in the world out there. Oh, and it's hard to keep going when it don't seem fair. Keep on fighting when your back's against the wall. Keep on getting back up when you fall. Keep on keeping your head held high, 'cause I still believe hard work pays off, good beats evil, and tough times make tough people. It's a single mom working 2 jobs a day, and a farmer barely getting by needing rain. It's a grandma waiting tables working through the pain. It's a cop on a call running in gun drawn, 'cause a shooter's in a schoolhouse hallway. Oh, there's a whole lot of bad in the world out there. Oh, and it's hard to keep going when it don't seem fair. Keep on fighting when your back's against the wall. Keep on getting back up when you fall. Keep on keeping your head held high, 'cause I still believe hard work pays off, good beats evil, and tough times make tough people. Oh, tough people. He was dog tags, boots, and army green. Shipped off somewhere to keep us all free. Came back in a box with a flag on it. It's home, don't it? Talk about tough people. Man, talk about some tough people. Pays off, good beats evil, and tough times make tough people. Yeah, sure make some tough people.
Hi, everybody. All right. So excited. We got our truthers and our constitutionalists, Jack and Margy Flynn, with us. I hope you enjoyed the opening video. It certainly just seemed right for what all we're going through and what's going on. And so tough times, they make tough people. And so I thought that was so good. Certainly fitting, especially that's on my mind, as you all know. that producer Ron and I are getting ready to go and be boots on the ground in North Carolina and Tennessee. We leave Thursday morning real super early, hoping to be at the first stop by noon. And so we're really excited about getting there and doing that. We have been dealing with getting supplies and loading up and doing all of that. So we're really excited about just what all we're getting ready to do. It's exciting. And so we've got some more updates on that we're going to talk with you about on today's show. I want to go on ahead and bring in Jack and Margy, though, because we've got some updates for you and want to go on ahead and get that going. Hi, Jack. Hi, Margy Flynn.
Hello, Michelle. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Hope everything's going good. Jack, I hear that you are doing better and better every day.
Much better. Much better.
Yeah.
It's
Good.
been a steady progression for the past 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm almost at the top now. Almost.
Good. Gave us quite the scare.
Was that a scare?
Yeah.
I thought I was going elsewhere. But I'm
So
glad to be
anyways,
back.
yeah. All right. So the last time you were on, which was a few weeks ago, we had a whole thing where our viewers had the opportunity to write letters for Chris Atkins. And so can you give us an update on what's going on? There was a court date yesterday, Margy?
Yes. It's actually Chris Akins, 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 yeah. And
Okay.
there was a court date yesterday, and it was one on the 24th. And this court has really been resistant to anything constitutional. But to Chris's credit, he has stayed on point as much as he can. And he's working his way through the system. And we're hoping that the persistence of the letters and the attention that's being brought to the court and their unconstitutional actions is going to give them some pause when it comes time to finalizing this, because his trial is until December
December 16th, I
something
think.
like that. Yeah.
No, January. It's
Oh,
in January.
yeah. And it's just exactly 18 months from when he was arrested. They went right down to the wire because they have a certain time limit in which to bring a prosecution. But the Constitutional says a speedy trial. And I don't know about you, but 18 months of hell doesn't seem like a speedy trial to me. So we have some issues with the way they're handling the thing. But
First of all, we'd like to thank everyone who wrote the court, the sheriff, the governor, the AG, etc., on behalf of Chris. We appreciate that very much.
as does Chris.
And as does
Yeah.
Chris. It shows us that the American people are willing to help their fellow man, okay? Their brothers and their sisters, which is really encouraging because, frankly, we've never seen this before, all right? We did this
Not to this degree.
we did this a long time ago and it worked successfully, but then people started dropping out again, so we just let it go. But this time, the letter writing campaign has worked for Tom Olmsted very well. It's working for Chris very well, and Chris and Tom are very appreciative. And we got a phone call yesterday from a fellow who saw us speak at the Red Pill this June up in South Dakota. And he said he had asked us a few weeks ago if this letter writing campaign would work for 4 defendants in Montana. Okay. We said, yes, it can. Well, apparently 3 of the defendants got their charges dismissed rather quickly. I think he used our constitutional positions, and those charges were dismissed. But on the main defendant, the charges weren't dismissed. So that's when the letter writing campaign came in, and the charges against him were also dismissed.
Just this past
So
week.
this letter writing campaign, we call it court busting, can work across the country if people want to use it.
You call it court what?
Busting.
Court busting courts, because the courts, as you know, because you have it on your website showing that the courts are totally unconstitutional. They're for-profit corporations listed
Yeah.
in Bradstreet with corporate ID numbers. Okay. So we as the American people must recognize a scam when we see it. We must recognize a fraud when we see it and take action against it as much as possible. And you folks on Michelle Moore's show took a lot of action on behalf of us. And again, we thank all of you, as does Chris. Now, I want to bring you up to date on something else. After the first few weeks of the letters pouring in, Chris had a scheduled hearing. It was called a pretrial hearing. I think it was on September the 9th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We told him that likely there would be no pretrial hearing. what would likely happen is the court would want to dismiss the case and or postpone it. That's exactly what happened. So the court went for the first option, which was to dismiss the case. All right. They presented Chris with a whole set of positions regarding dismissal. They wanted him to plead to 2 charges, and they would vacate 2 charges. They would dismiss 2 charges. All right. He came to us before he made a decision. He called us from the court and he said, "What would you do?" And I said, "We would not accept any deal like this by which we have to plead guilty to 2 charges that we did not commit." All right.
Yeah.
And if we did, we know how the court works. The court on the deal would dismiss the cases without prejudice and then come back in later on and file charges to file charges against the charges that they filed against him because he admitted to them. So you never want to agree to any charges against you that the system files. And you never want to take a deal from the system because the system is evil, it's corrupt, it's no damn good. Okay, it's ungodly, it's hostile, it's demonic, it's, all those adjectives, it's satanic, okay? It's absolute evil right across the board. So you never want to cooperate with evil. And Chris found out that had he agreed and admitted to those charges, they would have come back upon him and they would have convicted him because he already agreed. So the bottom line here is Chris understood that he didn't want to do it, but we said, look, you do what you want. You asked us what we would do. We told you, you do what you want. If you think they're going to dismiss and walk away, fine, but that will not happen. So the court took 2 hours out of its schedule, okay? It canceled everything that was coming to the court because there were a lot of defendants in the court that had to sit and wait. There were prisoners waiting to go before the court. They had to sit and wait. The court tried for 2 hours to convince Chris to take the deal. And he said, no, I'm not going to take the deal at the very end. I'm not going to take the deal, no matter what you say, no matter what you promise, because what you told me in the beginning is now changing. You want me to state on record that I am a U.S. citizen, which I am not, and you want me to pay $650 in court costs, which you never mentioned before. So you're a bunch of liars. I don't agree with you. I'm not admitting to this at all, okay? There was a man who walked this earth years ago named Jesus. He dealt with the truth, okay? And he died for it. So if he died for the truth, I can go to jail for the truth. I'm not taking the deal, all right?
Yeah.
He said that before the whole court. So this kid has guts, okay? And he has convictions. Now, he had a chance because when Chris didn't take the deal, the trial was almost vacated.
It was
okay,
stayed.
they stayed it.
Yeah.
All right, because the court didn't know what to do, and the pressure came in from all people all over the country. I mean, there must have been thousands of letters that went to the whole system down there, thousands, because they just got inundated. And frankly, the court published some of those letters on the docket. And we wrote eight letters, and I think they published all of ours on the docket. So if anyone wants to go to that docket, okay, they can see all those letters published by the court, showing that the court is absolutely, totally corrupt and unconstitutional. Yeah, absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Anyway, as we say, they stayed the trial, and they canceled the jury. I mean, not the jury, the trial that was established, okay? Trial by jury theoretically to be heard. Well, they put that aside, and they set up a possible disqualification hearing for the judge that was ruling against Chris quite a bit, all unconstitutional. This judge was absolutely horrendous. He didn't care what Chris said. He didn't care about the Constitution. He didn't care about civil rights, due process of law, fairness. He didn't care about anything, okay? And this is how a lot of these systems are.
Yeah.
anyway, because of the pressure put upon the court, they scheduled, if Chris wanted it, a hearing by which the judge could be disqualified. Chris said, should I go? I said, yes, I would.
Opportunity.
Go to this hearing,
Yeah.
because the hearing was going to be held with the head judge of the court, the head judge of the entire judicial system down there. Okay. And if she saw merit within Chris's constitutional arguments, she could have disqualified this judge. Okay. And based upon his unconstitutional actions, dismissed all the ridiculous charges against Chris. So he said, go. He did. This judge was absolutely adamant against the Constitution. She is an anti-constitutional terrorist who committed treason from the bench. And that's what you have in the system. You have judges who commit treason from the bench. We have to understand that. And she wouldn't let Chris present what he wanted to present. And when he started presenting, she threatened him with contempt. Well, if you're advocating for your constitutional rights, pursuant to Miller versus the United States, the claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted into a crime. But she didn't care, because there's a lot of pressure on this court from the system to buck the pressure that has been put on the court by the people. So there's really a contention here, okay? Now, Chris could have done better during that hearing, okay? He could have been more adamant, and he regrets the fact that he wasn't. And the position here is that when you go to court, you can never back down to the system. You always have to maintain your position, your constitutional rights, your due process of law, stay on point, and remind all of these idiots that they've taken oaths, and pursuant to Article 6 of the Constitution, they are bound by oath to the Constitution and must uphold the Constitution as the supreme law over every other form of lesser law, including state law. Okay, this is very important that people do this. All right, Chris did it, but she didn't care. All right, she was very arrogant. Now, that's a disappointment. I wish it had turned out differently, but in the trial, that still may not take place because there's too much pressure upon the court from the people, no matter pressure from the upside upon the court to get rid of the concerns of the people. Okay, so we have pressure coming down from the top on the court to get rid of Chris, okay, and put him in jail. And we have pressure coming from the bottom from the people for Chris to keep him out of jail. So the court at first was taken back real bad, but then the court came forth real strong to show that the unconstitutional treason they commit is superior to the Constitution. And this is true across the country, okay? Right across the country. And the American people, unfortunately, have never held the courts to any constitutional standard, okay? They trusted the courts as being fair and legitimate. They're not fair and legitimate, folks, okay? Go ahead, Becky.
I want to just interject a point here, taking off on what Jack said. Yes, the people need to understand and really see for themselves just how corrupt the system is. And what's going on with Chris is absolute testimony to the fact that the entire system is a communist corporate fake, masquerading as government and courts, when in fact they are no such thing. They're imposters. And they don't give any sway or any respect or obedience to the Constitution, which, pursuant to their oaths, is the first thing that they are supposed to do. So if you can extrapolate from this situation what's going on all across the country, this should be a great impetus to we the people to say, wait a minute, we are the bosses, we are the masters, they serve us. So why are we letting them get away with this? Why are we letting them destroy people's lives? Because we're being passive and silent, because we made a wrongful assumption that they were correct, that they were lawful and honorable? They're not. They don't even uphold their so-called legal premises, let alone lawful ones. So the American people really have to do some soul searching, some very deep soul searching, because we, by our silence as a nation, have permitted this travesty of justice to go on and on and on. And we could tell you thousands of stories of people whose lives have been shattered by this evil system. And it has to stop. It's tantamount every day to unmitigated treason every single day. because anybody who goes against the Constitution, who has taken an oath to that Constitution and then does not oppose it as the Constitution mandates, is a traitor. And that's who we have running this country. There's a bunch of traitors at every level possible.
Right
even in
across
your
the board.
local backyard, because they are taking their marching orders from others. And most of them are NGOs like the idiots at the UN. So we really do have to get our act together as a people, or we're going to lose our country. And any semblance of justice or freedom will no longer be living in America.
Well, one final point from this hearing that took place.
I had a question.
No, you go on.
The woman who was the head judge said to Chris, and get this, just understand what she's saying here.
You should.
Mr. Akins,
Yeah.
if I dismissed Crossan, Judge Crossan, I would have to disqualify every judge in Oklahoma. Get that for a statement, okay? What she said is, yeah, I know this guy is unconstitutional. I know he's a traitor. I know he defies the Constitution.
He's a bomb.
But that's our system. That's what we do. And we do that throughout Oklahoma. Every judge
It's
does
crazy.
that. Every judge does it.
It's crazy, but it's an absolute acknowledgement of the fraud that's been perpetrated upon the people virtually forever. And if we wake up as a society quick enough, we can make our objections known and we can start doing something. And Chris has a motion hearing coming up, I believe, in November. And that's another opportunity for him to try to get the case dismissed. So I would ask your viewers and everybody that we can reach to stay on it and write more letters, because he needs every bit of support he can possibly get to show these people that they are on the hook for what they're doing. They're being watched and they will be held accountable, because they are just absolutely shredding his rights, and there's no lawful authority to do that.
I'll tell you what these courts are like, okay? Just as the last point here. People have heard of Star Chamber courts. They've heard of Bolshevik courts in Russia. The Bolshevik courts were run by the Jews who created the Russian Revolution, right? There was no justice in the Bolshevik court. The court was there, but it was run by Bolsheviks.
Yeah.
So a Christian would come in and he'd say, I didn't do anything. And the court would say, doesn't matter, you're a Christian, you're dead. Take him on and shoot him. Okay? That's how the American courts are. I mean, they're not shooting people, but what are they doing? They're taking their homes. They're taking their children.
Yeah.
They're taking their businesses.
Incarcerating
They're
them.
taking their wives. They're putting them in jail. They're trafficking kids. They're trafficking women. They're trafficking men, for God's sakes.
That's
Okay?
ridiculous.
And the American people really have to wake up to understand how evil the United States government and all these local governments are and state governments are. They're evil, folks.
Yeah, it reminds me of yesterday. We shared a story from Bevelin, and Bevelin is a woman who they're putting her through the ringer. They don't care what the laws are, you know. That's beside the point. And so, the letters that you were saying that could still be written are the letters that are on MichelleMooreShow.com.
Yes.
Those same letters, okay.
Right.
And so, if you haven't written a letter, just for those that are watching that aren't familiar with when you were on and we talked about Chris, will you give a little bit of a backstory about Chris's situation and how all this came about? Because there's, I'm sure, plenty of people watching that aren't familiar with who we're talking about and what the situation was. And back then, just so everybody knows, we asked our viewers to write letters, and they did. I got many emails, and I know you all did too, you and Margy, that people were letting you know as well that, hey, I wrote the letters, just wanted to let you know. We asked that people let us know. And so will you kind of give us a little bit of a backstory about Chris's story?
Sure. Chris was traveling home from a meeting with customers. He was an insurance salesman. He was on his way home to his family. He was driving or traveling in a car in Oklahoma heading towards Kansas, where he lives. And he was stopped by a fellow who was supposedly a sheriff's deputy. And he stopped Chris on the allegation that Chris was traveling 10 miles per hour above the speed limit, which essentially is a misdemeanor. Okay. So he asked Chris a couple of questions, and he said, you know, I need your license and whatnot. And Chris went to look for his license, and he didn't have it in his wallet. He left it on his dresser or something. He told the officer this. And he said, well, give me, you know, registration or whatever it is. He goes and he's going to run it. And he's basically got an attitude from the very beginning. And Chris was very wary and very nervous because right away he knew something was up. And shortly thereafter, other officers show up. Now he's really scared. He is by himself on the side of the road. All he has is a cell phone. So that they tell him that he needs to get out of the car. And he said, well, I didn't do anything wrong. And they started asking him questions. And he said, I don't want to answer any more questions.
He's not obligated to.
He said, I don't have to. He said, so if you're going to write me up, just write me up. I want to go home to my family. Well, the officers don't like it when people know what to say. So Chris had rolled up his windows and had locked his door. And I think he might have left a little bit open so they could hear his voice. And they told him he needed to unlock the doors and get out of the car. And he didn't want to do that. So one of the officers, who was, I guess, the most aggressive of the four, I believe, that were there, he rushed the car and he said to the other guys, come on, hurry up. He's planning something. He's going to do something. And he went to the doors to try to pull them open, and he drew his weapon, apparently, and pointed it at Chris. And Chris said, oh, gosh. And he immediately opened the door lock, and he put his hands on the steering wheel, shut the engine off, put his hand on the steering wheel like this. I'm no threat. They opened the door, and they pulled him out of the car, threw him to the ground, roughed him up. Now, this is a mild-mannered, very unthreatening young Christian guy, okay, with a wife and two kids. Nothing about Chris would ever give anyone of reasonable intelligence and attitude any reason to think that he would be a threat to anybody. So they search him, they search his car without a warrant, with really no probable cause, because they still didn't say what they were suspicious of. And they impounded his car and they took him to jail. And when he got to jail, one of the jailers, they made him take all his clothes off, and one of the jailers started to try to take pictures of him to post online. Chris said, I don't want you to do that, because I'm going to take these pictures. And Chris, turned away from him. He wouldn't look at him, whatever, the whole bit. And the guy grabbed him and threw him to the ground, just roughly threw him to the ground. And Chris got banged up for that.
I don't understand. So are you saying that they were going to take nude photos of Chris
Yes,
and put
nude photos of him to post them online like a shame parade, a perp parade? Okay. These people are twisted and evil. All right.
The system is twisted.
I don't understand. So you're saying that are they just taking a picture of his face up, or they're going to show his whole body?
They were taking him, I believe.
And what do they do with women? Okay.
Yeah.
What do they do with women?
Anyway,
what website are they putting that stuff on?
I have no idea
whether it's
on
the police
Probably
website.
a porn site.
I don't know. I don't know whether
site.
it's internal or it's external. I don't know, so I can't speak to that. All I can say is that they shouldn't have done it. They did it without his permission. Okay, they did all of this without his permission. So here he is in jail. Now, it was a Friday night, so he couldn't get out of jail till the next day, when his wife could drive from Kansas with their two kids. And she had to pay a bond of almost $2,300 in exact cash on a Saturday.
Which is
pretty excessive and cruel and unusual punishment. It's a violation of the 8th Amendment. They should have known it. It's a misdemeanor. But they had him down, and they accused him of being of having I guess an illegal substance, because he had gummy bears, which are not illegal. They have what do you call it?
Yeah.
They're sold throughout Oklahoma.
But they're not,
CBD kind of stuff.
Yeah, that type of thing. He didn't have anything wrong. He hadn't been drinking, none of that. So they had no reason for that.
They accused him of drunk driving. That charge disappeared.
Yeah.
They accused him of taking pot. That charge disappeared.
Because isn't it legal? It's legal in that state.
Yes, that's correct.
You didn't have anything that was illegal, right?
No, but they don't care. See, innocent people are convicted all the time. All the time. And the original charge of driving 10 miles over the limit, that disappeared.
They never even
They all
charged
disappeared.
him. That was the supposed him. So to
It
us,
was an entrapment.
it
The
looked
whole
like
thing
a
was an entrapment.
scheme to entrap the guy under some excuse. Your taillights out, or whatever the reason was. He happened to be going a little faster. So what? So they put him through this hell, right? And since then, it's been one thing after another after another. They have not given him any constitutional attention at all.
Zero.
It's as if they're
Zero.
deaf and completely blind when it comes to the Constitution. To his credit, he has tried to stay the course. And we are offended and horrified by the arrogance and the disrespect that these so-called public servants have displayed for Chris and for our Constitution and what that means to this country. And that's why
Yes.
we're urging people to continue to write. And if you've written before, write another letter and say, why haven't you folks dismissed this case yet? This is an outrageous travesty of justice. He did nothing wrong. And because he refused to lie, they wanted him to perjure himself on the stand and say, oh, yes, I plead guilty to those two. And he said, I can't do it. I'm a Christian. I don't lie. So what
Yeah.
kind of country has courts like this? A banana republic? That's what we are now. We're no longer a constitutional republic. We are a banana republic that's run by communist thugs.
And just to show you how bad it is, Chris filed a motion to claim and exercise constitutional rights. The judge, pursuant to his oath and pursuant to the constitutional mandates of Article 6 of the Constitution, that says the Constitution is the supreme law of the land that supersedes all other forms of lesser law, denied a motion to claim and exercise constitutional rights. The entire system is entirely anti-constitutional, wars against the constitutional, and commits treason daily. And it's not only this court in Oklahoma, folks. It's courts all over the country.
All right. So I looked it up. So when you go to MichelleMooreShow.com, it's the fourth box down, their black rectangular box, or fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4. So Jack and Margy Docs, DOCS, like documents. And when you click on that, the first thing at the top is a yellow folder called Chris Letters. So these are letters that Jack and Margy provided as examples, and you edit it and, and be able to tweak them as you want and then send them off. And so there are 2, 4, 6, 8 letters, just like Jack and Margy said that they wrote. So these are copies of those as examples for you. And then you print them off, address your envelopes, put stamps on the envelopes, and mail them. And so this is one of the things, people say, well, what can I do? This is what you can do. And this is where we are, fighting for the Constitution against this corrupt system. And so, we have to I call it crowdsourcing. And so
Yes.
we're crowdsourcing. Everybody can do something, and not everybody can do everything. So we got to all do something. And so this is what we're asking. And I had said, look, you never know when you're going to be in trouble, and you're going to want other people to write letters for you. So, this is what we're doing. We're continuing to support this situation. Margy, Jack, can you, by the way, too, I just want to go back to something. So he got pulled over. Even Jack says, he gets pulled over, and those charges that he initially got pulled over for, the reason is already, dismissed. But here's the point. And that is that there was no victim, so there was no crime. So he should have never been pulled over. This is the stuff that drives me crazy. And so, who says that the speed limit that somebody posts and says, oh, this is the speed limit, is even valid anyways? Because as long as there's no victim to your crime, then, why are you being pulled over?
You're
Yeah, you
absolutely
have the right to be a traveler.
That's
Just-
right. You have the right. And that right is enshrined in the Articles of Confederation. It's supported by the Constitution, of course, in Article 9, which is our unenumerated rights in that Bill of Rights. And there are numerous case sites, Supreme Court, federal courts, local courts, state courts, that have upheld the right that we have to travel on the highways freely without restriction, as long as we don't hurt somebody else. That's
Yeah.
it. Nut and bolt of it right there.
But you see, when these cops ticket people, they're doing it for money, and they're doing it for the system they work for. And the system they work for is a corporation. It's a money-making profit corporation.
Yes, it is.
All of these cities and towns and states are money-making corporations. And
Well, the
they're
police officers are policy enforcers, and whose policies are they enforcing? The
Right.
corporation.
Yes,
Right.
and there's no authorization for police officers in the
Wait a
Constitution.
minute. The
Good point.
corporations came in. I mean, we had corporations from the very beginning of this country, but the for-profit corporations that are now governments, pretending to be governments, came in under the Constitution of 1871, which was a treasonous constitution a communist central banker constitution that set up the corporate state and the deep state across America. So everyone in government, get this, folks, everyone in government who's taken an oath, everyone without exception, including the president, has taken an oath to the communist 1871 deep state corporation. And they're all bound by that corporation to uphold the for-profit position of those corporations. And they're going out and screwing the American people. Okay. Now, when Chris was stopped, he likely wasn't even going 10 miles over the speed limit because they dropped it. Okay. But this was an entrapment to see how much money they could pull out of him. And they pulled out $2,300 and now they want more. Okay.
Plus,
So again, folks, we really have to wake up. We really appreciate everyone who's doing this. And we would appreciate people across America understanding that this type of situation, meaning the letter writing campaign and the court busting campaign, can work almost anywhere if there's enough pressure put upon
for
the
any
system.
set of circumstances. So we have the political power inherent in us. Let's use it.
Yes.
All right. So let's see if we can send some more letters. And so if you haven't sent letters, we ask that you please do. There's 8 letters. And so if you would please consider doing that, go to michellemooreshow.com, click on the black rectangularly shaped button that says Jack and Margy Docs. And then there's a yellow folder emblem at the very top that says Chris Letters. And then in there are all the examples for you. You change it how you want. And those were written as examples for you by Jack and Margy, and they shared what they sent out. Okay, so we got a lot to cover. We got a lot going on. Linka Anna 59 said they want him to feel helpless, talking about Chris, just to break his Christian spirit. Criminals, users of the lawless system that don't want to admit that they act unconstitutional. Now, Jack, Margy, before I met you, and so there was George Floyd. And I remember, we all saw on TV, they just running that fear porn, 24/7. And I kept thinking, what is going on? Why are the police standing by? And why are the police not protecting the people? And I knew something was wrong then. Now it all makes sense. And I just couldn't understand it at first. And then it started making sense as I met you and started learning more and more. It was like, oh, this reminds me of the George Floyd stuff. This is why they stood by.
Yes.
And let people do nothing and, burn the courthouse down or whatever. And the buildings and all the commercial stuff. And then BlackRock comes in and gets 15 cents on the dollar, all this, primo prime real estate. And so no big deal. Let's see many examples of this type of corruption of judges and courts in J6 cases. Well, let's just start preaching. Yes. Insurrectionists didn't look very insurrection-y on J6, by the way. Wouldn't an insurrectionist have guns and when insurrection? That was a setup.
It was a big setup.
The American people have the right to assemble anywhere. Okay. The American people own what is in the public domain. Okay. The Capitol is in the public domain. It's owned by the American people. They have a right.
Is it owned by the American people? Wait, is it owned by the American people or the corporation?
Well, it's technically owned by the corporation. Okay.
Who paid for it?
It's technically owned by the corporation, but theoretically, these guys in Washington, D.C., the representatives and the ladies and the senators, theoretically work for the American people. They don't work for the American people. They work for the corporation. But the American people don't know that the country was taken over in 1871 by a corporation. It's like General Motors owning the United States of America. Okay. There's no difference. Okay. But even though lawfully the people own the property, legally it's owned by the corporation. Well, which is more lawful, legal or lawful? Lawful is more lawful. So the people actually own that territory. They theoretically own the country, which they don't anymore, but theoretically they do. So they can go anywhere they want because they're guaranteed the right to assemble as part of the First Amendment. They have the right to voice their opinion and to voice their choices. And they were really angry at the election that was stolen. I mean, there's no doubt that election was stolen. yet the
Mhm.
Supreme Court upheld the election as valid. I mean,
Yeah,
how
again, the
sick are we
courts.
in this country?
Yes.
How sick are we?
Okay. Now, we have a lot of new viewers. In fact, producer Ron told me right when we were getting ready to go live that he looked it up and we had hit 52,000 subscribers on Rumble exactly.
Go.
So that's awesome. But okay, so with numbers of new viewers, you those that are watching may not know this, so I've looked it up for you. So on MichelleMooreShow.com, if you'll scroll down, there is a button that is titled Duns Numbers. So DUNS. And it's a 4-page document. Jack and Margie and I have talked about this numerous times. I held on to this document back when I got it, quite a few years ago. I came across it. And it says done numbers of the the U.S. corporate government and most of its major agencies. This is on page 2. So stuff like the U.S. government, the U.S. Department of Defense, the U.S. Department of Treasury, Justice, the U.S. Department of Justice. They've got the Federal Bureau of Indian Affairs, of Land Management, the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, and Tobacco. Did you know that was a for-profit corporation? That's what we're telling you. Each state is a for-profit corporation. So you can go to page 3 of this 4-page document and see all the cities and all the states and all that stuff. So like, for example, let's go to there's the state of Kentucky and then there's the city of Louisville. And so they each have their own DUNS numbers. And so these are for-profit corporations. And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't each county also, for the most part, have their own corporation as well? So you got cities, you got states, and then you have the government. And then you have all these individual entities as well. So if you want to look through that, these are for-profit DUNS numbers and everything. So for-profit corporations, that's on there for you. MichelleMooreShow.com has a lot of resources for you. So you can go there and everything is able to be downloaded, looked at, whatever you want to do with it. It's all yours. It's there for public, resources. Okay, so lots going on. I wanted to go back, though. I wanted to understand something, Jack. You were talking about the 4 other guys. What was that? I don't know the backstory to that case. What happened there?
That pertained to Jesse Boyd. I don't know if you know who Jesse Boyd is. He's a Christian man. He's a preacher, and he was walking across the country with his family, with a cross on his back and just ministering. All right.
To get the people to understand that they have to return to God.
Yes. To bring them back to God.
Yes.
Well, he was in Montana and some Yahoo comes up to him and starts harassing him. And one thing leads to another. And next thing you know, he's arrested. And some people
Jesse's arrested.
Yeah, Jesse. I mentioned him earlier.
Right.
And some people tried to help him and they got pulled in too. Okay. And they were, just accusing him of ridiculous things. And the guy did nothing wrong. He said, look, we're about to leave. My family and I are going to get in our trailer and we're going to leave. So, there's no need for this. And the guy was just, I guess, off his rocker.
And the fellow pulled a gun on Jesse.
Yeah, and he pulled a gun. And Jesse had a gun with him. But he didn't, he put it down. He didn't want to cause an issue. Somebody called the cops and it escalated out of hand. So they tried to make it look like it was Jesse's fault when in fact it wasn't. He was the victim here. But he went through all of this and he was facing jail time and the whole bit. And it was a complete travesty of justice. So some folks out there got wind of it and they were saying, well, what can we do? And the fellow that we had met at the Red Pill Expo, he was one of the people that was to do something, and one of the other people that we met there as well. So when we started doing these things with Tom and Chris in terms of getting people power moving, he said, gee, could we do that here for Jesse? And we said, sure. And then they went ahead and used the letters as models and sent them out, and they hit the good results, which was to us a blessing because this poor guy did not deserve the treatment that he got there. It's a disgrace what they did to him.
So the court dismissed all charges against all 4 of them.
Okay, so producer Ron, why don't you pull up that Bevelin video and we'll show that to them in a minute. Okay, so let's go on ahead, and we've gotten a few viewer questions also. So ratifying the vote, viewer Ray had sent an email in to me saying, if Kamala won't ratify the presidential election vote, what happens next? We know that she won't. So what's that about?
To ratify the vote.
There's going to be court battles okay, and all sorts of protests if Trump wins, okay, and we hope Trump wins because, Frank, a vote for Carmela is a vote for the devil. It's a vote for Satan, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
She's a
Communism.
Maoist communist
Communist.
who will infiltrate this country like you've never seen before. Your freedom
Sure.
will just vanish under her. So the only choice we have is Trump, okay? Whether you like him or dislike him, he's the only legitimate choice we have for America, okay? Now, they will try to tie up the election as much as possible. There'll be suits, there'll be protests. Antifa and BLM will get out and start marching again, and the police will let them tear down buildings and kill people. And they want to have as much mayhem and chaos as possible in the country if Trump wins, and that's what will
That's the
happen.
question. Kamala doesn't ratify anything. She's not in a position
No.
to ratify anything. Okay.
Yeah.
The election would be decided, obviously, by the so-called Electoral College. All right. Congress is what ratifies the vote. Okay. And if she's still sitting as a president, she's only one voice. She's only one vote. So it's not up to her whether it gets ratified or not. Okay. If the election's a suspect. All right. And who knows?
Well,
what's
she's the vice president, so wouldn't she be a
Doesn't-
tiebreaker?
She could be, but she doesn't have any.
No,
She
no,
only has one vote.
no.
She has one vote.
no.
That's it.
She has nothing to do with ratification as to who's president. What I think the viewer means is
Certified.
it's a tradition for the loser to accept the election as valid. I think that's
Yeah.
what
Exactly.
and she won't accept the election as valid if Trump wins.
Sure.
The communists will not. Remember, communists never give up. Good
Yeah.
people give up. Communists never give
Look
up.
around.
That's
folks.
why they own the world. Communists and central bankers own the world. They never give up.
Well, evil, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the next question. I have a question about the trust. Okay. Okay, I've got it. And so it says, I have a question about the trusts and foundations. I have 7 and would like to know if there is a form that I could get to move this process on for me. Would you be able to email me the forms? What is that referring to?
I don't know.
She says she has 7. 7 what? 7 questions? She
I
has
think it's 7 trusts
she has 7
and
trusts.
foundations.
I don't know what she's trying to do, whether she's trying to reincorporate them in another form or put them into the form of a pure constitutional trust. She's not clear in her question.
If she
Okay.
has 7 trusts, she likely has a commercial corporate trust. Okay.
Statutory.
Done by a lawyer, statutory
statutory.
trust based in the statutory positions of the state. But we never do that. Our trusts are based in the constitutional authority of the national constitution. Okay. We don't
Okay.
do statutory positions.
All right, let's take a look at Bevelyn's story, okay, Producer Ron?
Well, what's so crazy is that I'm indicted right now. Indicted, I was found guilty, and I'm sentenced to 41 months in federal prison for preaching the gospel in front of an abortion clinic. Exactly that. The event happened in 2020, okay? Police were on site both days of the event. I was not arrested. I was not detained. I had no type of charges or forthcomings with the police at all. Once Trump was out of office, they sued me on an injunction to keep me 30 feet from the building. And so because I had moved to Tennessee, I just went and settled without admission of guilt because I was no longer in the state. And then in 2022, right after Dodson was overturned, they beefed up the charges and indicted me on a federal charge with the secret grand jury that they had that I was not aware of. And they indicted me with FACE and conspiracy of FACE for the exact same event that I wasn't arrested at, that I had no kind of police encounters with. The police were on site there, and they went ahead and indicted me for FACE. Basically, they said things like me saying, no peace for the wicked, and we cancel this place in the name of Jesus. Those are forms of threats. Me talking to women, and I think one day of the 2-day event, 150 women were scheduled to do abortions. None showed up. That they considered that obstruction. you're interfering with women's care. And I'll never forget this. Before they sent the jury back to deliberate, the jury was told, this is not about the Bible. This is not about religious beliefs. This is about women's rights. And I was devastated to see the jury come back with a guilty verdict, but to preach the gospel and preaching things out of the Bible that may seem warfare, it may sound like warfare, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm invoking threats and violence. I'm speaking in the spirit. So yeah, they found me guilty, and the judge sentenced me to 41 months in prison. And what's so crazy is that my lawyer, who's appealing it now, he said in normal cases, something like this wouldn't have even gone federal. And he said for them to sentence you to 41 months, which the judge said in front of me, she said, well, I'm going to make an example out of you. You had 65,000 people watching you at a time, and people need to know what the consequences are when you interfere with women's rights. She said it straight up. And so they didn't care about me being a mother. They didn't care about me being a stay-at-home mother. They didn't care about the fact that I'm not a repetitive offender. Didn't care less. They gave me 41 months and 2 years supervised release.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to touch upon this because I'm a woman, all right? And I want to say, first off, this woman has the right of free speech. She has the right to stand on a public street and speak. She has a right to her faith and to practice her faith as she deems fit. Now, that doesn't constitute a crime in any way, shape, or form, which is why she wasn't arrested at the time.
Excuse me. But in America, you don't have to commit a crime to go to jail, be convicted, and die.
No, you don't. You don't have to commit a crime, but you do have to know your rights. Now, she didn't do anything wrong. Had she done something wrong that day, then she would have probably been arrested, at least, marginally. Now, she didn't. So that tells you there wasn't any crime committed. The fact that she was standing there and 150 people just didn't show up doesn't mean she obstructed anything. She didn't get in front of the door and say, you can't go in there. She didn't say, no, you can't do that. She was out there preaching because she was trying to appeal to their reason and to their humanity and to their faith in a higher power to say, do you have the right to take an innocent life? That's where she was coming from. That's not a crime. And she has a right to her opinion, and she has a right to express it. First Amendment, again, it guarantees your right to freely speak, to redress grievances, and it certainly guarantees your right to practice your religion as you see fit. So all of the things that she did are constitutionally protected. And this judge, by doing what she did and making an example of her, she multiplied the wrong, 1,000 times over, because she's sending a message and she's chilling free speech in the process. If you dare speak against things, if you dare show up and have the courage of your convictions, we're going to punish you as much as we can. And that's the type of thing that would keep a lot of people who would have been able to walk and maybe carry signs and whatever, say, gee, I was going to go there, but I can't afford to go to jail. Who'll take care of my kids, etc. And this is a very evil thing. Her rights were completely disparaged. And if I'd been her lawyer, I would be advocating for her rights, okay? Not about religion. No, it's actually about the Constitution, ma'am, the thing that you took an oath to before you took your office as a judge. And your job is to uphold the Constitution. And the Constitution protects everything that I did. And the fact that there was no arrest at the time of the event is a clear indicator that I didn't commit any crimes. And this is malicious prosecution. And you're going to be sued. And so are the prosecutors. That's how I would have handled it.
The lawyer didn't say that, did he?
Question.
He didn't say that. So the lawyer was probably a sellout, like most lawyers are. And if he wasn't a sellout, he's pretty damn stupid, okay? Because he could have said exactly what Margy said. Now, the judge said to the jury, this is not about rights. This is about women's rights. Well, the woman who is a defendant is a woman.
Has rights.
She has rights, okay? The jury has rights, but she has rights. All right? You can't hold someone else's rights superior to your rights. We live in a country in which there is supposedly equal treatment for all. So if you're going to uphold the rights of the jury, okay, and the rights of the women who are going in for abortions, you have to uphold the rights of the defendant. The defendant's rights were not upheld at all. And I will reiterate what Margy said. This woman was standing on a public sidewalk. It's in the public domain. She's part of the public. She has every right to be on that sidewalk. That's number one. Number two, she has the right of free speech and free choice and the right to assemble. But all of these rights were thrown away when she was arrested, when she wasn't arrested the first time around. So this is a typical example of an innocent person being persecuted by an evil, satanic, demonic, anti-God system. And that's what we live under, an anti-God system.
That has to come
All right.
loud and clear. Any system
Okay.
that will hold the right to murder a baby over a right to freely speak about God is very satanic.
Right. All right. So why a secret grand jury? That was one of the things that stuck out to me. She didn't even know about it.
They do that a lot.
They do this all the time because the people are ignorant. First of all, the grand jury belongs to the people, not the government.
system.
Okay, it's an advocate for the people. It's sort of a cushion between the people and the machinery of government. Everyone who goes before a grand jury, if they're a target, because that's what they call them, they're target of an investigation, they have the right to appear before that grand jury and defend themselves and present evidence that would refute whatever the witnesses are alleging that they've done. If she wasn't told about that, then her due process of law was violated because that is her right guaranteed in the Constitution.
There's a very famous Supreme Court case called Chambers versus Mississippi, which states that the defendant has the right to face his accusers during all proceedings. All means all, and the grand jury is the first proceeding.
Oh,
So
makes
her
sense.
rights were denied. Her
Yeah.
Sixth Amendment rights were denied.
There you go. There you go. That makes so much sense. I've heard that before, but I didn't think about that. It's all of it. And that includes the grand jury. So when she said a secret grand jury, she didn't even know anything about it. I went, this doesn't sound right. So that's very interesting. And I love taking these cases as examples so that, because through that we learn and the viewers can learn what our rights are, what you do and what you don't do, and where the red flags are. So that's so good. All right, let's take a look. Let's talk a little bit about Hurricane Helene, and we're going to also talk about Hurricane Milton in a little bit as well. But I want to show Hurricane Helene. So the Red Cross is shutting down where some people have been staying. So let's take a look at that, producer Ron, that particular video.
We have an unfortunate update for you from Western North Carolina. Red Cross has decided that there is no more need in this area and they're shutting down their shelters. They've shut down 3 so far that I'm aware of. Marion, Old Fort, Clyde, and we have spent the last 24 hours with ourselves and working in conjunction with other organizations trying to find placements for these people that have nowhere to go. They lost their homes in the storm, or they, don't have a place to go because the place they were renting is gone or their apartment complex is gone. I mean, there's a reason that we had shelters out here, guys. This isn't a problem that got fixed in 4 weeks. I don't understand why people think that this is over and they can just shut down and pull out. You can't rebuild a house in 4 weeks. You can't provide housing for thousands of people in 4 weeks. It just doesn't happen. We have these campers and these tiny homes that we're passing out as quickly as we can and as much as we can with the funding that we have, but we're also running into problems with permits for the county, why are we worried about permits right now? Like, you're letting them sleep in a tent on their property. Why are you going to fight me on dropping?
Okay. Jack, Margie.
Go ahead, you can start.
This is another example of the fact that the people running our governments are
evil.
enemies and they're evil to the core. No man or woman holding any office at any level has any compassion anymore. What they do is arbitrarily decide who they're going to maybe give a little bit to make it look good, and the rest of them, they just walk away. It doesn't even faze them at all. They couldn't care less what's happening. They don't care if these people starve to death, freeze to death as it gets cold. They don't care. Now, remember what happened after Katrina, that horror show. And they did bring a lot of trailers, which weren't the greatest, but at least there was something to put people into shelters. Here, they're doing nothing. Yet, we saw something just a few days ago showing them that they're clearing out and building some camps for
FEMA's
FEMA
doing
workers,
this.
for 700 FEMA workers per camp. Why? Because the speculation is that they're going to set up an operation to mine lithium because those mountains are full of it. And so the people are, I guess they're just expendable to the government. And this is a basic example of just how evil all aspects of government have become under this communism. It's disgusting.
In this particular case, it was the Red Cross. The Red Cross is a
Therefore,
money-making organization.
Yeah.
The Red Cross is not concerned about the people. The Red Cross is concerned about its control of the people
Yes.
and its control of the money. And there have been many reports of the government, FEMA, and Red Cross grabbing supplies, money, and equipment, and tractors, and trailers, and bulldozers
I'm taking it.
that were brought in to help the people that were confiscated by the Red
That's right.
Cross, FEMA, and the
Lies.
government.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's the world.
So
That's right.
the Red Cross has no concern for the people whatsoever. I mean, you might as well give your money to hell if you're going to give it to Red Cross.
I think you have to
Okay, so
another one of those NGOs that's basically in bed in partnership with the evil government, and they're all working to the same agenda to destroy the American people. Don't give them a dime.
Look,
Yeah.
the U.S. government, which is, as you know, highly controlled by the Jews, okay, highly controlled by the Jews, if not totally controlled by the Jews, is giving billions of dollars to Israel to commit a genocide on the Palestinians, and billions of dollars to Israel so Israel can fight a war supported and participated in by the United States of America to create a greater Israel, to take over half of those countries in the Middle East. And the government is giving billions of dollars to the Jews in Ukraine, okay, to set up a Jewish state in Ukraine and continue the war against Russia. I mean, come on.
Okay, so producer Ron, do you have the Roman Pyramid of Power image? Pull that up. You know, I love to show that when we get to talking about these. So I'm reminded of the time frame. Does everybody remember the whole story that really exploded during right after 9/11, where everybody gave all this money? And it can't come to find out. And I think it was People Magazine did a big story about how much the CEOs got bonused off of how much money was raised. So you ended up finding out that CEOs of these 501c3s were literally getting 8 million, 9 million, 10 million, 12 million in bonuses, because the Americans were giving all this money thinking it was like, 100% was going to those in need, or at least very, very close to it, only to find out it was literally pennies on the dollar. And so there was a big story about that scandalous whole situation. And so you've got these CEOs of these nonprofits that are making a ton of money, and then they get bonused on how much they actually bring in donations. And only to find out that, like, I think it was the Red Cross that we found out that was in the 90 cents of every dollar or something like that. It was awful close to that, 90, 92, 93 cents on every dollar was supposedly, allegedly, going toward the admin expenses, and people were outraged. And I want to say People Magazine even did something on this. Now, this is the Roman Pyramid of Power. It shows the Tri-City state kind of thing. So you've got DC, Washington, DC, which was in charge of war and terror. You can see Zionist government listed right below. To the right, the City of London, they were over money and finance, which was the Rothschild banking. And then at the top, you had, of course, the Roman law, Agenda 2030, and that's the Vatican, that's religion. And so that's why we're always going into other countries. It all makes sense now when you see something like this. But when you look at the pyramid, you got the Jesuits, the Illuminati, the Knights Templar, the Knights of Malta, the 32 degree plus Freemasons, the organizational religion, organized religion, secret service and societies, secret services and societies. And then you've got the military, the police, and the mafia. Did y'all hear me say that? What have we been talking about? The military, the police, and the mafia. Then you got the UN, the US, the EU, the G20, and NATO. Then you got, now these are people that are not working for us. Big banks, big mafia, and big industry. Then you got national, regional, and local politics. And then you got NGOs, which is what Margy called out a little bit ago, the think tanks, and what? Big charities. They know we have big hearts. And I got to tell you, I know that y'all know that we raised $35,000 here at the Michelle Moore Show with the viewers. So the Michelle Moore Show viewers have come together and we have collected $35,000 to help the Hurricane Helene survivors.
That is absolutely wonderful, Michelle. That's
It is amazing. Only God could do. I mean, it's just amazing. But I had been in prayer and I wanted to help, and producer Ron wanted to do something. And we were like, well, we don't trust anybody. And then we were getting emails. I was getting emails from everybody going, well, who do we give? Who are you giving money to? I want to help. But who do I give it to?
Yeah,
And I'm like, I just wasn't responding at first. And then finally I was like, God, I kept praying and I was like, God, am I going to have to get involved here? And sure enough, that's where we're at. And so this is a long-term thing now. It was only going to be for a week, and then it was 10 days. And then it was, well, as long as I have it by Thursday kind of thing. And then now it's ended up being, okay, I see the writing on the wall. And we even received donations today, giving out mailing address. That's why we're going to be boots on the ground. We're going to take photos and videos, and people are going to see for themselves, because we're only seeing not from the big media, not from Mockingbird Media. We're really only seeing it from the people that are the people, we the people that are going in and seeing the devastation and then doing social media posts. And so that's helped me to know where the needs are. And then I want to give you an example. So today I was at the grocery store, and so we've partnered with Houchins Industries, which they have a food group side, huge company, and really big here in the United States. And so it's so awesome how things work, because when producer Ron and I first talked about going, I said, I really feel drawn to go to Asheville, North Carolina. We have some viewers there. I know they're really hurting. And I just kept thinking Asheville, but then producer Ron ended up finding out on Friday that there's so much yellow zone and red zone. They're still having mudslides. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's very dangerous. You're fixing to see about the roads. And so, and then I got another confirmation from one of our viewers even that, yeah, it's very dangerous. It's going to be 2 hours of windy roads, and I get car sick and motion sickness. So I was like, I get nauseous and stuff. So I thought, oh, that may not work well. And then to only find out too that the roads, because the interstate is a section of the interstate of I-40 that's shut down. So it was just going to be 2 hours of windy roads and stuff that weren't we could get halfway through that only to have to turn around. So we just couldn't feel real good about that. Well, it turns out, and I kept saying, well, we want to send supplies, but how? Only to find out that we were able to partner with Houchins. And so we're able to buy the supplies, and they're taking care of the driver, the truck, and the gas, all the fuel, which is incredible. And so that's why producer Ron and I were there this morning and purchased 8 pallets of food. Now, needs are changing. And so one of the things there for a minute was don't send water. Well, now what I'm finding out and found out late last night is the water from the infrastructure is so terrible that they're like grocery stores are mopping their floors with bottled water. So guess what that means for the people? It's less bottled water, even less. So they need water. So we're sending the viewers and myself and producer Ron, the Michelle Moore Show, we're sending 6 pallets of water, 4 pallets of cases of water, and then 2 pallets of distilled water, because I always keep in mind that we have those that are elderly or have sleep apnea, and they have to have distilled water for their sleep apnea machines and everything. So we're sending 2 pallets of that as well. And so, and then 2 pallets of baby supplies and food and cleaning supplies. That's part of the thing too. Bleach, we're sending all kinds of stuff, paper towels, toilet paper, cases of this stuff, because you have to have the supplies to be able to clean the place up. And so we're going to start with that and sending that to Asheville. And they have agreed to make sure that I know when and where the trucks are being delivered, so that our viewers will be able to be there to receive those donations unhindered. And so I'm so excited. And so we're doing that. And then on top of that, producer Ron and I are filling up our SUVs, and we are meeting viewer Natalie. I got off the show yesterday and she's begging, can I please go? Can I please? So I said, yes. Well, viewer Natalie did hair for 20 years and she's bringing all her hair stuff and she's going to be giving free haircuts. It's been a month. People are going to need some hygiene stuff. And so we want to make sure that we can do as much as we can while we're there. So viewer Natalie is going to be doing haircuts. And so we're going to be taking video and having all that photos. But one of the things is that I am hearing, like, while we were collecting money, we thought we'd be using it mainly for generators. And what I've learned is that many of those people already got generators. And so we're trying to just fill the needs. And I'm hearing they are literally changing, minute to minute, hour to hour. So we have to be flexible too. And we're just doing the best we can. Like I said, at one point they were saying no water, and now they're saying we need water. So, okay. So we're working at all of that. So next week, those trucks will be going out. And thank you to Houchins. That's amazing.
That's wonderful. Really.
All right.
And your viewers really came through, and
Sure
that's
did.
absolutely great.
God bless all of you for
It's
doing it.
amazing. And so I tell people I have the best viewers, and I'm not kidding. Okay, because they write the letters, and and they say to me all the time, "What can I do? What can I do?" We don't want people to just get angry when they hear the truth. It doesn't do any good. We all are informed and educated enough now to realize, okay, corrupt, and it is good versus evil, and okay, but what do I do? And so that's what we get so much of. Well, we got to give people, and Jack, Margy, I've had numerous conversations with you about, well, we got to have, things for people to do. And that's one of the things is the letter writing, because it does work. I want to show you another video, and then I want to get your feedback. So the one producer Ron of Coming Home, I want to see that one real quick. Show it
Sunday,
to the
October 27th. And we're back up here at the hub at Chimney Rock. We had a call late last night, early this morning, that a lady had showed up. She had on short sleeve shirt, and was shivering. She was here for her dad. Her dad lives on the other side of Chimney Rock. So she was looking for supplies to him, maybe a Starlink or something to keep contact with him, and some other supplies. She asked for a sweater that was here at the hub, and the truth came out that she had a baby in her car. She had came back up to assess her damage that she evacuated. So we brought some baby clothes up here from 6 to 9 month old, warm clothes. And what we're finding is a lot of people are coming back to this area that evacuated. And they're coming home to see nothing. They've lost everything, not even enough clothes to supply their kids or stuff that they may need. So every day stuff comes out, and every day we're learning more and more for the people that are trying to get back to the area and coming home to find they have nothing. A little update on this road. When these miners came in and they bridged this road from Bat Cave to Chimney Rock, they did the impossible. This was a 3-mile stretch that was nothing but rock and rubble. It was almost impassable, 30, 40-foot boulders and rocks to climb up and down. It looked impossible for there to ever be a road here again. But these blue-collar boys come in from West Virginia, and they said, hold my beer. They beat all the red tape. They beat all the bureaucracy going on. And DOT and the state was saying, oh, it may be after winter before you get access. A lot of these people that have businesses and homes weren't going to be able to get here. There was no other way in here. This is a 5-minute drive, and people were having to go all the way around to South Carolina and up to get here. There's a lot of bridges here that people live on the other side of this river that still can't get out. It's not accessible. But these guys came in and said, we're going to fix it. And within 3 days, you can walk all the way from Bat Cave to Chimney Rock. You can drive a truck. What they conquered is one of the most mind-blowing American things you will ever see. To see so many people from all walks of life to come in here and put aside their political views, to put aside their differences. And what we've seen in the last month is the America that I want to live in and the America that I want to believe in. My question is, where's the government help with boots on the ground? and not just here with clipboards and Rolexes and suits and ties? Why is it the people? Why is it farmers and West Virginia miners that had to come in here and bridge this road from Bat Cave to Chimney Rock? Why is our military not building bridges to get access back across these hollers? Why is it on us to supply hubs to make sure that people are sheltered? Why is there already not hundreds of millions of dollars coming to this area instead of so much red tape that are denying people? We have business owners that we know right here in Chimney Rock and in Black Mountain and Swannanoa. Everyone is getting denied. Even the ones that have flood insurance, the insurance companies are saying they don't have to cover it because it was a 1,000-year storm. Those are the answers we need to know. You can believe what you want to believe and watch what you want to watch on the news. And they may be showing help in the area, but that's only the parts that they want to show you. They don't want to show you these poorer communities or these parts that have been absolutely abandoned. We can get some of these people in front of a camera talking about their story all day long. But the truth is, what's going to happen is people are going to discredit them, tell them we're a bunch of redneck hillbillies, backwood Appalachians. It feels like the devastation that we're dealing with is being completely swept under the rug. It's like people want to keep it hush and just keep it a secret. And there's a lot that I want to say, and there's a lot that I've not talked about.
All right, Jack, Margy.
My God. First of all, he did a very good job of showing and talking and emoting and bringing up the ugly truths that the government has completely and utterly failed the people of North Carolina. My heart goes out to them, and I'm sure all of your viewers feel the same way. It's mind-blowing to see what these people have to endure, and to think that no one in government is making really any serious effort to do anything for them. It's unconscionable. Government is supposed to be in place for a specific purpose, and that purpose is for the defense of the country, supposedly, and to maintain and uphold the well-being of the people. Okay, that's why we have government. This is a perfect opportunity for government of right to be acting and doing the right things, putting money into this situation, putting boots on the ground, and all of the resources that are available to them to make this community whole again. And they're not doing anything. Again, testimony to who and what is running this country. It's an evil, satanic cabal that doesn't care about life, doesn't care about people, doesn't care about babies, doesn't care about farming, doesn't care about anything except it's one directive. And that directive is to destroy the United States of America and her people, especially white Christians. And I'm not being racist, just stating a fact.
Mm-hmm.
We are all
Okay.
You know, the old adage that used to go around years ago, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
The government is here to destroy you, to kill you, to take your property, to take your kids, take your wife, traffic whatever they can traffic. We deal with the most evil government that probably ever existed in the history of the world.
Mhm.
And people believe that it's a legitimate, lawful, charitable giving government. The only gifts the government gives are to the Jews in Israel and the Jews over in Ukraine. Okay? Nothing for the American people. And the American people will continue to get nothing. The people in Katrina got nothing. The people in Paradise Valley got nothing. The people in Lahaina got nothing. They got the land stolen by the government. Okay? And this land is going to be stolen by the government and given to that company that wants to do the, what was it, lithium mining down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another position here, as far as I'm concerned, this is my personal opinion, but there's tremendous evidence to back it up. This was a planned governmental, military, destructive operation to kill those people, to take their land and to take their property and to create mayhem, just as it was in Lahaina, just as it was in Paradise Valley, just as it was in Las Vegas, New Mexico, in that area where we lived, and so many places around this country. These are planned military government operations intended to kill the people and take their property.
Devastating.
I mean, my God, we have to wake up as a society. If we haven't woken up by now to realize the COVID scare was not
It was a scam.
well, it was a scare, but it was a real scare because it was a scam to kill the people. I mean, my God, if you look at the figures in terms of how many people have died internationally, worldwide, it's something like over 700 million right now. We don't have the figures in the United States because they're hiding them, but I'm sure those figures have to be up in the high millions by now. Okay. Your government is killing you, folks. I hate to say this. I'd rather say you live in the best country in the world. Well, when you take the people, you do. When you take the American people, yeah, you live in the best country in the world. But when you take the governments of America, you live in a hellhole. Okay. And we have to wake up to that. So whoever can help, and you guys are helping quite a bit, your viewers are helping quite a bit, just stay away from organizations. Deal with individuals as you're dealing with down there, and deal with the churches, not the organizations.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. And so also, I just want to make sure that everybody knows when Jack and Margie are talking about the Jews, we've covered this on numerous shows before. We're talking about the Khazarian Jews, Jewish people, the Khazarians. And so I don't want emails and people being upset who are Jewish. We're not talking about all Jewish people. We're talking about the fake Jews that are the Khazarian Jews. Okay. So we've covered this in other shows. Just want to always make sure that we mention that so that nothing is taken out of context or misconstrued. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to show you, this is Hurricane Milton. It's down in Ridge Manor, Florida. And let's take a look at that video.
Please don't go. Please don't cry. I know a place we can read the stars and say which ones.
Okay, so you can see there where people's homes were flooded, of course. I'm hearing one of the big things that people are asking for are pillows. So I'm actually leaving to go and get pillows and blankets tonight after the show. I have a video, Jack, Margie. I want to show the two of you, and after we show it to you in the audience, and I want to ask you a question about it. It's about illegal immigration. That video. Let's take a look.
Wait a minute.
No. Hold on, wrong video. Here we go.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of her coming to work with me in the morning first to do her summer school. She said, okay. I told her good night and I love you. I went to bed, not realizing that that was going to be the last time I saw her.
We're best friends.
Yeah. We're going to shake it again.
I woke up to notice she wasn't in her bed. I'm in my heart trying not to lose my mind because I don't know where she is. I finally remembered her phone had a location on, and her phone was pinging just 2 minutes down the road, right behind the skate park. I start driving to the direction the phone was being pinged at, and I see a couple cop cars with lights on. I see yellow tape, and immediately my heart drops and sinks to the bottom of my stomach. My daughter's hands and ankles were both bound. She was strangled to death, left with no pants. And I know in my heart, she fought incredibly hard. She was not going down without a fight.
We begin with two men we're learning are charged with capital murder tonight, accused of killing a 12-year-old girl.
Police say these men strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally.
Apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death. The men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungare are affiliated with the gang known for brutal violence.
Kamala Harris was in charge of immigration and our borders. If we had better border policies and not open borders and not these catch and release policies, I truly believe this all could have been prevented. Under her being vice president of this country, my daughter's life was ripped away from her. She had her entire life ahead of her.
Happy birthday, dear Jocelyn.
My daughter is 6 feet in the ground based off of policies that she allowed to keep. Kamala Harris did have one job, and she not only failed, not me, she failed my daughter. She failed Jocelyn. You know, she was only 12. President Trump reached out, gave me his sincerest condolences as not a former president, but just as a father, someone who cares. I believe Donald Trump needs to be back in office. I can at least know that my next child will be safe in this country.
Okay, so Jack, Margie, I had said I had a question for you. How do we rid our country from all of these illegal aliens?
Well, one real good reason is to kill them. And I'm serious. If they're an invading army, okay, this invading army should be destroyed. And this is an invading army. And the invading army is sponsored by the United States government that is giving Jewish groups tons of money, billions of dollars of money to bring these aliens into the country through the border unobstructed. That is an invasion. Well, what do you do with your enemy? You kill your enemy. Why do you go to war? You kill your enemy. You shouldn't go to war unless the enemy is going to kill you. Okay? And these people in this country have killed tons of girls. And my heart goes out to this mother. Okay? It's horrible. It never should have happened. But again, our government, and I can't emphasize this anymore, on all levels, federal, state, and local, is pure evil. And evil only does evil. And evil is destroying this country as it destroyed this young girl and her mother. Okay? So it's up to the American people to stop the evil. I don't see it. I'd love to start seeing it.
You asked how we can stop it. The first thing we have to do is make it known to our so-called public officials that we're not going to take this any longer. The American border should have been secured a long time ago. Now, I know Trump made an effort, but it didn't succeed. And I have my own opinions as to why. The bottom line is to see Border Patrol down there watching these people come in, go through the fences, they let them in when they know that these people are troublesome, are going to cost a fortune, and are going to commit crimes like this heinous crime. These people should be shot if they try to come into this country illegally. You give them a warning, they don't listen, fire a few rounds, they'll run away. They're not going to stand. Serious. And I'm not a violent person, but why do you arm Border Patrol there and they don't do anything? The guys that worked in Border Patrol, many of them have left because they're so disgusted with what's going on, because they couldn't do their jobs, they couldn't enforce. They're supposed to be there to stop this instead of welcoming them with open arms. And then they come here and they get sent all over the country, and they are absolutely trashing the cities that they're living in because they're not used to having what we would call maybe a more genteel life. And they get free housing, they get put up in hotels, they get credit cards, they get phones, they get clothes, they get medical care, and the American people get nothing. Think about this,
And
folks.
frankly,
And
the
we're sitting here
American,
silently and saying nothing.
Literally.
the American people, frankly, look, truth is truth. Reality is reality. The American people deserve nothing because they've demanded nothing. Okay? They've demanded nothing. and they've never stopped the evil that's in this country. You know, I've said to you before, Michelle, we and our people have won well over 10,000 cases over 70 odd years. Okay. No one else in the history of the country has ever done that. And no one else in the history of the country has ever used our methods to stop errant, unconstitutional governance. We're the only people in the country doing it. I wish there were other people doing it. They're not. I wish there were other people saying what I'm saying. What do? You kill them. They're invaders. You kill the invaders. Further, you shoot the armed guards down there. What do they call? Border Patrol? Yeah. Shoot them. Why? They're traitors. Why are they traitors? No one has to obey an unconstitutional order. These guys are obeying unconstitutional orders, and they're putting the country in jeopardy. Bang, kill them. They're traitors. We have to get hard, and we have to get cruel, and we have to get right, and we're not doing it in America.
And I want to make a point here, too. All of the so-called law enforcement, every state is a sovereign state, supposedly. So they have sheriffs, at least the ones that still have them, who have constitutional authority to exist, and their duty is to the people and the Constitution before anything else. They're not obligated to the state machinery of government. They're obligated to the people and the Constitution, period. Those sheriffs could very easily have done their own patrols, deputized people to be on the border. And if Border Patrol agents don't do their job, they would be right and just in doing what they would do. Remove them, execute them, or and put them in prison. Seriously, we're too passive about everything. We say it's like a woman who's in a relationship with an abusive husband, and he beats her up all the time, and she always forgives him. Well, he said he's not going to do it anymore, and he bought me flowers.
And he does it again.
And next
the next
week
day.
he does it again, and finally one day he kills her. And people say, "Oh my gosh, how did that happen?" Well, it happened because she didn't do anything to stop it, and nobody around her interceded and said, "He's going to kill you. We'll help you. We'll give you shelter. We'll take you out of state," whatever. Well, we're not helping ourselves, and we're certainly not helping the border situation by sitting home twiddling our thumbs, or watching the news or sports or whatever, or maybe complaining to one another, but not doing anything to make a pointed statement to our so-called representatives that they are traitors because they are allowing our country to be invaded by not just families, but by actually service age men who are being trained in camps right now. Why are they here? I think you can do the math. They're here to take out the American people. So the American people have to make a decision. Are you going to be a pansy and sit back and go, "Oh, poor me"? Or are you going to step up and do something that's necessary? Start with the power of paper. Go to the affidavit. Start writing to your senators and congressmen right now and tell them this crap has got to stop. You have the power to stop it. You're not doing anything. And if you don't do something, we're going to remove you. We, the people, have the authority. The Declaration of Independence, very clear. When government stops doing what it's supposed to do and does no longer act for the benefit of the people and with their consent, and the people have the right, the duty, and the authority to remove that government. And that's what the people of this country have to face. We have to take the situation into our own hands and exercise our lawful political power. It's inherent in us. We're a self-governing nation. That means we have to have some skin in the game. We have to do it ourselves. We can't expect some one or two people. And no matter who gets into the presidency, one person, whether it was a good person or a bad person, is not going to be significant. We need group power. We need that whole kind of, united front that is happening amongst the people that are in North Carolina right now. That's the American spirit. That's the spirit that says, "Oh, you said we can't do that? You're not going to take 2 years? No, we're going to do it in 3 weeks because we care and we're serious." Well, can we save our country? Yes, but only if we're serious and dedicated and committed. That's
according to. Go ahead, Michelle.
I'm just going to say real quick, it reminds me, what we're talking about reminds me of what Allie Carter says. We've shown some of her videos. We've talked about her consistently. I was listening to a video of hers this morning. She's a trafficking survivor. Not sure if you're familiar with her, young lady. And so she says, "No one's coming to save you. We
That's
have to
right.
save ourselves.
That's right.
That's
And
right.
so, even Donald Trump is, I think a lot of people think he's the savior. And it's like, I have said repeatedly the whole time I've had this show, my hope is in no one man. He's one man. He has to have us to stand up and to fight for what's right.
That's
And so
right.
he can't do it on his own. We have to do our part. And so, we've got to remember that. We've got to get up and we've got to get involved. And so, and then, I was just talking today about so many people. There's a common saying, and it is, it's not that people are against you, they're just for themselves.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so, like with the survivors, now there's been a structure that is against us. And so it shows up in so many ways that people don't even realize. So, for example, because of the divorce rates, because of all the different stuff going on, you got mamas working, you got, even if couples are married, mom and dad are both working. And so they put their kids in schools and all this stuff, and they can barely, be able to make ends meet. So what happens is, like when Hurricane Helene happened, well, most people want to do something, can barely afford to do anything, but they are sending in. I can't tell you how many checks that made up that $35,000 we've received that were $50, because people, I believe that's all they really have, because the system has taxed us making it, taxed us spending it, taxed us, taxed us and taxed us and taxed us. And so, which is all illegal. And so it's like, okay, so, and then you've got inflation. And so you've got all these systems that are keeping us uninformed. And if we are informed, well, and then you're too broke or too tired or can't because you got a job just over broke, that you have to go to because you only have maybe 2 weeks of paid vacation if you're, fortunate.
Yeah.
But, and so you can't go. People want to go. People with that, the ones that care and want to go can't, because it's either time, money, energy, effort, it's a million different things going on. And so it's unfortunate, but it's all systematically been done to us by the cabal, the deep state. And it's unfortunate. That's why now it's starting to make more and more sense why, I felt led to collect the money and to go, because we do have the resources now and we have the means to go and do that. And we can run a documentary on Friday. And so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to go and Thursday morning and we're going to go and do as much as we possibly can. But it's just unfortunate and it's frustrating because we see so many people that are so busy. It's like you're too broke to be able to pay attention,
Yes.
and it's by design. It is the systems that have been designed and placed in our lives to keep us so broke that we can't even afford to pay attention.
That's right.
And the
they
American
worship that way.
people have never challenged those systems. That's my point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
The
Yes.
enemy always is ahead of the people. The enemy is always, but the people don't understand who the real enemy is, and they've never challenged the opposition. Now, by some estimates and some standards, there are between 35 to 40 million illegals in this country in the past 4 to 5 years. 35 to 40. I can't verify that, but on pretty good authority, that's the figure. Now, the government is taking care of virtually every one of those people. They're providing housing, they're providing cars, they're providing food, they're providing clothing, they're providing money, okay?
Military training for the men.
Your military training for the men, and up in Maine, where we used
Cell
to live,
phones.
everything. What are they providing to the people in North Carolina? Again,
Oh, yeah. Well,
very little.
and what that man said in that video, by the way, a little while ago, I was already hearing, and I think we showed it here on the show, where they're saying, look, business people, we have friends that are business people who can't even fill out the FEMA forms and, for $750 correctly because it's so convoluted. And these are, intelligent business people. What about people that aren't used to filling out forms like that and don't really understand, that kind of stuff? It's like, and people are getting denied for $750. Like, you know what? I say we give out $750, no questions asked. If you know what I mean? And you need a permit? Here's your permit. Like, we'll talk about that later.
We saw some fellow the other day talking about I guess it was a guy who was working with FEMA or, a contractor. And he was disgusted because he said, almost every single application that he was helping the people fill out, because they are so complicated, was denied.
They're denied. They're designed to fail. That's the bottom
Yeah.
line.
Yes, that great point, Jack. So Justice 7777 says Chimney Rock, Black Rock, and Asheville in the mountains were just devastated. Yes, that's why we're going. I hope the people don't forget all the people there. And that is what I'm hearing, Justice 7777, is that the people are already getting worried that people are forgetting about them. I'll take a good old boy any day over any government agency. Yeah, right.
Yes.
R.L. Wood, we were just talking about that, Jack and Margie and I, right before we went live on the show. R.L. Wood, the Red Cross demanded all donations to go to and through them. That's food, money, and volunteers had to sign in and out to track all out of the hours so that FEMA could get paid $22 for every hour volunteered. Thieves. Okay, that does sound like thievery. That's a convoluted mess.
Yes.
Producer Ron says that a few people are having trouble getting to the 8 letters for Chris. So he has put a direct link to the folder for Jack and Margie in today's show description. So if you have any problems, that's the best place to go. Also, in today's show description on the Michelle Moore Show Rumble channel is the different ways you can Venmo us your donation for Hurricane Helene. You can go through PayPal, or you can send us a check through the mail, snail mail. And so our mailing address is in there as well. All checks have to be made out to Michelle Moore. So I have the ability to deposit them to be able to then give out the money and do what we need to do. And so we're taking care of it that way. Let's see. I think we received 22 envelopes with donations in them just last week. So it's amazing. And so, Jack and Margie, do you think that we stand a chance in this election as long as Dominion machines exist?
Very difficult.
That is one of the biggest reasons why we're concerned about the integrity of this election.
Let me answer it this way. I think every sentient being who has some type of common sense and fairness is fully aware that the last election was a total scam and a fraud. Trump was elected president, but Biden served as president pursuant to the Supreme Court, pursuant to the Congress. Okay. So the Supreme Court and the Congress, and frankly, the American people sold out. Now, Trump had something like 83 to 86 million votes, somewhere around there. Where the hell were those people? Why didn't they raise such a ruckus and make such commotions and put such pressure upon their officials that they would assure themselves in the country that this election would be an honest election with no voting machines? With a voting machine in there, it's a real flip. Okay, it's a real.
Yeah.
And
All right.
Besides that, one more point. Okay, after the debacle that took place, the so-called, confirmation of the election, which should never have happened, and the January 6th nonsense, why weren't millions of American people notifying their senators and representatives that they are traitors and that they are going to be removed from office because they violated the Constitution and they violated the rights guaranteed to the people in the Constitution and were complicit in election fraud in 2020? How come no one did that? We're the only people on the planet that saw that happening. I mean, we did have a few people that did it because they knew where we were coming from. But by and large, the American people were absolutely out to lunch and complacent.
We wrote
Well,
out,
that goes back.
Yeah.
we
That goes
wrote
back to
out
what I was saying.
to the entire Supreme Court,
Supreme Court, yeah.
every one of them. We wrote an affidavit to them, accusing them of treason and telling them how they conducted the treason and how that treason affected the American people, and put a communist SOB in office that was going to ruin the country, and none of them rebutted it. Okay. Now, had we been 30 years ago, we might have taken this further, because not one Supreme Court justice rebutted that affidavit. And we really did it kind of for the Brunsons, because the Brunsons, as you know, brought cases to the Supreme Court. But unfortunately, they didn't see much merit in what we were doing, so we never went further with them.
Well, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, Donald Trump is only one person. We have to all stand up. And I think we're going to end up seeing, you know, where we are as a nation through all of this. This will be very interesting to see. And of course, the election is in a week, and I'm sure some things will be developing where we'll be sure to have you back so that you can weigh in on what is going on.
We'll be happy to.
All right, guys. Love you both. And we'll see you. That they're just such a gift to not only the show, but to all our viewers. And so don't forget, go to Chris's folder for the letters that Jack and Margy did, and that will help also. So let's see if we can help Chris and get this put to bed and done with. All right. Well, we'll see you right here. Tomorrow we got Linda Bamber. If you have a Wave Watch testimonial, make sure that you send that in to Michelle at NashvilleMichelle.com so that we can share those. Those testimonials help other people hear, like, oh, I have that and I didn't realize. And so we want to make sure that people are hearing those testimonials. And then, and so Linda will be here. She is the creator of the Wave Watch. I got some big news tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. And then, you know, if you've got a question about the Wave Watch for Linda Bamber, she's such a wealth of knowledge. We hadn't had her on in a couple of months. And so this will be perfect for you guys to be able to send in your questions for her, or you can always just post them live like normal in the chat too. Whatever works, it'll be good. All right, well, we'll see you right here tomorrow, next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
Are you tired of all the pills in your medicine cabinet? I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the creator of the Wave Watch, a more natural approach with 1,000 frequencies for mind and body. People have used the Wave Watch for kidney stones, arteries, blood, immune system, vagus nerve, myocarditis, allergies, colds and flu, ADD and ADHD, strokes, Parkinson's, carpal tunnel, thyroid, Lyme disease, and so much more. Wave Watch has a 1-year manufacturer's warranty for defects and flaws, and you can also upgrade to an additional warranty for water damage and breakage. Are you tired of all your pills and endless trips to the pharmacy? Why not try the Wave Watch with 1,000 different self-care ideas and put your mind at ease?
Just go to wavewatch.com. At checkout, use the code Michelle100 to receive $100 savings on your purchase.
I'm Dr. Fulgens. For over 30 years, UCB has helped customers strengthen portfolios with gold. But let them tell you in their own words.
Buying gold and silver from Universal Coin and Bullion has been one of the greatest experiences for me, and it's been an easy process and also a very safe process to do that.
Call now to secure your 1-ounce gold or silver American Eagle coin with no dealer markup.
Did you know your cell phone emits radiation that has been linked to increased risk of certain types of cancers? This is why manufacturers include hidden warnings to keep your phone away from your body. And what's worse is that children are more susceptible to the potentially damaging effects. Safe Sleeve for cell phones is a case specifically designed to block radiation. Its shielding technology integrated into the case has been tested in a third-party FCC-accredited lab to block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation emitted by your phone. It also functions as a stand for watching videos and comes in a magnetically detachable style for some devices. Safe Sleeve also offers anti-radiation cases for tablets and laptops and has free shipping in the U.S. plus discounted worldwide shipping is available. Go to truthtalkamerica.com today and click on the Safe Sleeve banner on the home page. Use the discount code FIRST10 at checkout for 10% off your first order. For Michelle's social media links, go to MichelleMooreShow.com.